Hey, how's everybody doing today? This is Mark Brody, and I'm back here for another episode of Coffee Talk with Brohawk. And I'm very pleased to have as my guest on today's episode, Alexa Kaltenberg. Alexa, how you doing?
Hi, I'm so good. It's summertime. I'm happy.
Yes, yes, the birds are out, the bees are singing, or bees are out and birds are singing.
One of them.
Whatever the quote is, it's all good. Well, thank you very much for being my guest today. And Alexa, can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself? What type of work do you do, and what are you up to these days?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny that you asked that because recently I just realized that something that I've always been passionate about is communication and language. And I was kind of like looking at my history, and in college I majored in Spanish, and then I taught English as a second language for a while, and then I got into language proficiency testing, and now my wonderful co-founder Jenny and I started our own company, Rubrica Testing, and we make pre-hire communication proficiency assessments for hiring contact center agents. So a lot of what I do and what I love professionally is based around human communication. And I think that's really our goal with what we're doing now is let's make sure we can communicate with one another well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the core of everything. I mean, having conversations like this, being able to talk to somebody on the phone, you have to have some level of proficiency.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to represent the brand for the company that you're working for or working with in the best light possible. So I love to see that. So you and I have spoken a little bit about assessments during the hiring process, and as you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, you're doing, your company Rubrica Testing does these pre-hire assessments for call center agents.
Mm-hmm.
Um, why are these assessments so critical during the hiring process? And how does it really help you understand the skill set of what you're potentially bringing in?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important for a couple of reasons. First
Hmm.
of all, well, in the contact center space, communication is arguably the most critical job of a
Hmm.
contact center agent, a customer service agent, right? You are there to help someone resolve their issue for the
Right.
most part. Um, so, not having the ability to communicate or empathize when a customer calls in, because customers aren't calling in nowadays to reset a password or check a balance, those things they can do online.
Yep.
They call in when they're upset or they have an issue that's too complex. And so your ability as an agent to be able to not only communicate proficiently, but also to empathize and understand and listen and really comfort the customer is so critical. And so I think when you're hiring people for this industry, um, a lot of times it's just kind of like, who can we get in the door? But more importantly, I think we need to be finding the right people. And I think
Yeah.
assessments can help you do that. Before you hire, evaluate, make sure someone has the right skills. And if they don't, then if your test isn't giving you feedback, it should be, that's a problem. But then get that feedback, see what they can work on, upskill, train, do whatever you can to help them kind of see a path or a career in this field. It shouldn't just be a kind of in and out job. We should really be trying to retain people who are good at their jobs.
Yeah. Do you believe that, if I were to say this to you, it's a one size fits all as far as assessments go? You can give the same assessment, doesn't matter the type of job. Is it a one size fits all, or do you advocate for different roles, different types of assessments?
I definitely think there are different assessments, 100%. I think
Mhm.
that one thing that people tend to do though is over assess. And that
Mm.
is something you definitely don't want to do. You don't want to give someone six different assessments. I mean, I would quit, I would walk away, right? Like, you're not paying me enough for this, right? And I'm not getting
Yes.
paid to take those assessments. So,
Uh-huh.
no, thank you. But you have to kind of look at what the tasks of the job are going to be.
Hmm.
And can those tasks be evaluated or can they be trained?
Mhm.
I don't necessarily need to train or assess for something that I can train, but I can assess for something that I can't train or that would take maybe too much time or effort to train. Language is
Yes.
one of those things. I can't teach someone English in 4 weeks,
Mhm.
but I can teach someone how to use maybe a knowledge-based software system,
Yeah.
so you have to be strategic about what you're assessing and what you're evaluating. And maybe there are a lot of jobs that don't need that at all. But when there's something this critical, particularly if a language isn't your first language, you really want to make sure that you have the ability to do that thing so that you are able to do your job successfully and you're not stressed as an agent. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because I mean, if you're um, yeah, depending on the channel that you're interviewing for, you're hiring for,
Mm,
um, the type of assessment for a voice agent, an inbound agent, even versus an outbound agent or an email agent or a chat agent.
mm-hmm.
As much as we want to have universal agents, the skill sets are so different.
So
Um,
different.
and you really as an organization, you really want to be honed in on what is it that you're really looking for. Because, like you said,
Right.
you can't teach English. You can teach jargon, you can
Right.
teach industry specific terms,
Right.
but you don't want to be teaching somebody noun, verb, adjective if needed.
we don't we
Yeah,
don't want to start from zero when we're trying to hire for a position.
exactly, exactly.
Even like with native speakers,
Hmm?
using slang or not being empathetic. I mean, I think writing is even more critical when you're a native speaker too, because of I've seen some pretty bad writing. And I don't know if
Yes,
that bothers everyone, but that bothers me.
yes. If it wasn't for Grammarly, some days,
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know.
Yeah. Yes.
uh,
Praise Grammarly for real.
e- exactly. Not advocating anybody purchasing
Yeah, no.
Grammarly or
They
getting
didn't
a
pay
license
me.
or
So
anything. Yeah. Man. Um, so you've had a very successful professional career, and you've pivoted from um, from prior work that you've done into owning your own business and or being part owner or co-owner in a business, really focused on something that's your passion project.
Mhm.
So, as, I'm particularly interested in learning your thoughts about this.
Mhm.
At this stage in your career, you wish, I wish I could go back in time and tell my younger self this, and how would it have helped you navigate in your career? And I realize, you don't have 35 years experience, but you have enough experience in your career
Yeah.
to go back and think about it there.
Yeah, and things have moved fast. And I have so many lessons for young Alexa. But
Yes.
most importantly, if I could go back in time and tell myself something, I would say just know your own value.
Hmm.
Um, don't stay in a toxic workplace that isn't really nurturing your growth or your
Hmm.
potential.
Yep.
Um, I did that for a while because I thought it was the right thing to do. It taught me a lot of lessons, but the main lesson it taught me was get out when it's no longer good for you. So,
Yes. I love it. And that goes with all relationships. I mean,
oh, for sure.
working, in a working environment, it's a relationship as well. It's no longer, um, you know, I'm working in this job just for the paycheck. It's
Mm,
I'm working in this job to create a life
hmm.
that I value and can be valuable for my family or myself, as I progress through my career. And so
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to stay in a toxic relationship, regardless if it's personal or professional.
Right. As we finish up Mental Health Awareness Month. Yeah, absolutely. Get out if
Mm.
you need to. But I
Yes,
think that's
yes.
easier said than done. I mean, I was raised in
Mhm.
a household where loyalty to a job was kind of preached,
Yeah.
right? So in my mind, when I got a job, I thought, oh, I'll be here forever. I will stay with this company. I am the most loyal person. I'm going to see it grow and we're going to grow together. And then something
Yes.
I also realized was that the loyalty that I have for the company specifically, well, I'll say corporations, not all companies,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
they don't have that loyalty for you.
Correct.
So you really have to kind of focus on what's best for yourself. If you don't see yourself growing, if you are struggling with your mental health, do your best to find something else that will kind of help you grow and learn and just be happier. So,
I love that. And don't I love the thought that you just shared. Don't pigeonhole yourself in a place or in a role or in a position,
mm,
um, just because that's what you think societal norms expect of you.
mm-hmm,
Uh, and I love that. I love that thought process, and I think it's a great lesson learned.
mm-hmm,
As a professional. Um,
mm-hmm.
you know, do you think if you would have taught yourself or listened to yourself earlier, had you had the chance to go back in time, do you think your career would have taken a different trajectory?
Oh, for sure. But
Yeah.
I, I mean, if we could go back in time, right?
Yes.
But the things that I learned and the mistakes that I made have led me to where I am today. And
Yeah.
I am so grateful that I found Jenny and, the people that I've met along the way. And I wouldn't have found them had I not done those things that I did or made the mistakes or stayed as long as I shouldn't have. But so um,
Yes.
it's, it's I don't know if it's not meaningless to think about because you should always be reflecting, but I don't know how things would have been differently, but I'm happy with how they've ended up.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I think all of us at some point in time we start a job and we're like, um, yeah, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. And you get into it and it's like, okay, the ping pong tables and the pizza parties and this and all this other stuff, these are really cool. And then you start getting into the work and you're like, it's like
But
a Kevin
yeah,
from Home Alone moment. You're like, oh my
yeah,
gosh, what did
yeah.
I get myself into?
Those
Um,
pizza parties were a cover up.
yes, yes, somebody duped me. I don't even like this pizza anymore.
But yeah,
No, but
no, I think
I
it's
mean,
yeah.
yeah. No, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say it's you get into something you don't like it, but this is not an area that I ever saw myself in. I don't think
Yeah.
anyone as a child goes, "Ooh, I want to be in customer service and like I want to make assessments for a living," but like but
Yeah.
all of the steps that I've taken have gotten me here and what I'm doing now I love. But I
Yeah.
think the point of that is if you get to that point where the pizza parties and the ping pong tables and all that stuff is no longer winning you over,
Uh-huh.
maybe start looking at how it's working with your life and your work life balance and
Mhm.
where can you go from there basically.
Yes.
Always make sure you have a path forward and upward.
I love it. As it was interesting as we started off the conversation. You talked a little bit about, you majored in Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
and how did you get into customer service as a profession?
Yeah, so that's a weird path. I majored in Spanish, and when I graduated, I thought, oh, I'm gonna be a translator. That's what I want to do,
Yes.
and I want to travel and I want to translate. And then I realized that my Spanish skills are nowhere near the thousands of other people in the US who speak Spanish and English basically natively.
Uh-huh.
So I went into teaching. I went to grad school for TESOL, and then I started teaching English with adults, and I loved it, but I did not see upward growth from there.
Mhm.
I like seriously, I have the utmost respect for teachers. I don't know how they do it. You are underpaid, you are overworked, it is emotionally draining. I
Mhm.
absolutely loved it, but it wasn't something that I could see doing for the rest of my life because of
Yeah.
all of those aspects. So I had applied for a job with an assessment company for item writing. just writing test questions because I thought, oh, I'm a teacher. I write test questions all the time. I'll just go do that thing. No, it's not the same at all. There's so much that goes into writing a test question.
Yes.
Totally separate thing. But that's kind of where it led into. And then once I was working for that company, I just kind of worked my way up the ladder. And then we were basically downsized from that company. And we said, well, you know what? We can do this better. I think if you're not trying to evolve and you're not trying to improve things, like what's the point, you know? So Jenny and I were like, hey, we can do it better. Let's do it. And why not?
Make it happen.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Because like you said, I mean, nobody goes to school and says, "Hey, I think I'm going to wake up tomorrow and work in a call center."
Right.
That sounds like a really great idea. You just
Right.
kind of fall into it,
Yeah.
or fall into it, stumble upon it, whatever the right terminology is,
Yeah.
or state of mind at the time. Uh, and it just interests me, to see how people got from where they started to where they are today. It's
Mhm.
something that's always, as a history major, it's always fascinating to me. So
Yeah, that's
uh,
awesome. And now you're in customer service, right? Like,
I've been here for 33 years. I
right?
can't shake it. It's like
And I worked in a call center and I hate it. So I really never thought I'd be here.
yes, yes. Now you're making sure that every contact center agent is better before they even enter the door.
Yeah.
So
There are a lot of things we need to fix, but
yeah,
what we can do is
yes.
we can help with one of those things.
Exactly. Decisioning is so important, for leaders, to make the right decisions, because
Mm.
um, rehires,
Mm.
attrition is so dang expensive these days,
Yeah,
and you want to make the best choices ahead of time. So
absolutely.
so for contact center leaders that you interact with,
Mhm.
um, on a pretty regular basis. What do you see as the biggest challenges that contact center leaders, or just leaders in general, if you'd rather, face today versus what you saw earlier on in your career?
Mm.
Have things shifted, or have they gotten better or worse?
Yeah, well, when I was I don't know, let's say a decade ago, things seemed more, I don't know, kind of like party life, right? Like we can hire people, like let's spend our budget, let's do these things. And now it's very, very tight.
Yeah,
People are having a hard time getting employees in the door in the first place. And again, there are a lot of reasons for that. But
yeah,
I think retention is the thing that I hear most consistently across the board.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's a tough spot to be in, but
It is. Well, and that's why, the work that you do is so important, because you can have such a positive impact on a company's or an organization's retention strategy.
yeah.
Um, it can identify, using the right assessment, and I've seen some of your assessments,
Mm-hmm.
through your website, and getting the right assessment can help you identify what the developmental path of a particular hire could be.
Mm.
It can really, I think, um, um, you know, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Oh yeah.
If you bring in somebody that is really talented, or has a lot of skill sets, can communicate verbally, but you know what? Some of the verbiage that they use when they write isn't quite there. Well, you can coach to that a little bit. You can provide them some scripting,
Mm-hmm.
so that it can improve for them. Um, but if they cannot navigate knowledge well, if they understand they understand the industry,
Right.
the assessments that they select can really help create that developmental path. I would think.
Oh, absolutely. And it depends on the assessment as well, because a lot of assessments I've seen they'll give a score and then no feedback. So
Mhm.
if I failed that test, I don't know why. I don't know
Yeah.
why this person that I really want to hire failed the
Hmm.
test. Were they close to passing? Should I just have them retake the exam and spend more money on this? So that was one of the things that we were very adamant about when we designed our tests, was that every single test has to come with personalized feedback for that candidate. Tell them
Hmm.
exactly what their strengths and weaknesses are, so that if you want to, let's say they just fall below the benchmark,
Yep.
well, now I know how to train them up. Or even if it's doable to train them up
Hmm.
in a certain amount of time, maybe I want
Yep.
to hand them their certificate and say, you know what, go back and study these things, try to improve this, come back in a month and reapply.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something I can train within the next 2, 3, or 4 weeks.
Hmm.
But having that feedback is so critical. I think it's almost more important than the score that you're getting,
Yeah.
because it's going to help you in so many ways.
And none of, if I remember correctly, none of your assessments, none of your scores, none of the scoring that's done is done by AI. It's all done by humans, correct?
Yeah, we still use humans,
Hmm.
because
Novel
of
idea.
several reasons. Yeah. I don't want to say anything bad about AI. I love AI.
No, no,
AI is
no. Yeah.
amazing. Everyone knows it. Yes.
Hmm.
But it is a tool that should be supporting humans, not taking over.
Yeah.
And we use human raters because they can understand things like empathy. They can understand things like context. They can understand if someone has taken the written information we have on the screen and if that
Hmm.
candidate has integrated it successfully and smoothly. There
Hmm.
are just a lot of those really small, complex aspects of communication versus language that AI cannot yet assess. Will it ever be able to do that? I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
But I do know what AI language tests can assess. And to me, that's not a full grasp of human communication. Not what we need, at least in the
Yeah.
contact center.
I love it. I love it. And not only is it providing that, how another human is going to interpret the language and how things are written, how things are spoken,
Mm-hmm.
um, versus how AI is interpreting it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also creating opportunities for people, to launch their own careers as well,
Mm-hmm.
and really think about, communication in a whole other level. So
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, me too. It's something that I really don't want to lose. I don't want to lose that human aspect of
Mhm.
customer service. I think that's something that has been lost recently. Maybe I think things really shifted at COVID.
Yeah.
Um, I think everyone saw a pretty big decline in the way customer service has been handled.
Mhm.
But I think that's the one, like if you're going to hold on to something, that's the one thing you need to hold on to. If you treat
Yeah.
your customers like numbers, are they going to stick around? Probably not. But if you
Yeah.
can treat them like a human who has a problem that you're trying to solve, I mean, that's what we're trying to do ultimately, right?
It was interesting. A few months back, I was having a conversation with someone else in the industry, and we were talking about they don't focus on the CX aspect of their tool. They
Mm,
don't focus on the EX aspect, although it does help. Their tool does help the employee experience and the customer experience. What they want to focus on is the HX, the human experience,
mm-hmm,
um, and that's really the difference maker. For their product or service.
mm-hmm.
It's how does it make someone feel when they're
Yeah,
engaged with it? Um,
yeah,
you
absolutely.
know,
I think that's super important. It shouldn't
yep,
be how many calls can we take a day, it's how many problems did we solve today,
yep,
you know?
yep.
So,
Yeah, I can tell you, probably about 12 years ago,
mm-hmm,
um, I stopped looking at average handle time in the call center.
yeah.
People are like, What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, actually, once I stopped looking at it, it improved.
Oh yeah.
It got better because people weren't focused so much on the clock; they were
Yes.
focused on the resolution."
Yes. Well, I mean,
And
think about any, I'm bringing it back to testing because that's the thing I can think about right now.
yes.
But when you take a test and you have that timer on top that's counting down, that's all
Hmm.
you can focus on, you know,
Yep.
and you're not going to produce your best work. It's kind of like, panic. But
Yes.
yeah, give people the space to solve the problem and they'll do it efficiently.
They
It's not
will.
like they want to sit on the phone with someone for 3 hours. Like,
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't think any of us wake up in the morning, give a big stretch and say, you know what? I want to be really inefficient today.
yeah,
Uh,
right.
I don't think anybody wakes up like that.
Yeah.
Especially that works in a call center, because they know that they have the opportunity to help more and more people, then they are being the best brand ambassador that they can be for the organization that they're working for.
Hmm. Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
So
Yeah. I think people want to be successful in their jobs.
yeah,
And that's we have to give them the space to do that.
excellent. So we kind of talked about this, but just to kind of put a nice little bow around this. Any tips that you would have for leaders on how they can improve their hiring and retention process? What would be the top two or three things that come to mind for you?
Can I say pay better?
Sure. Yes.
uh, you know. Well, no, I think that's part of it. I think that
Yeah.
when you get the right people in the door,
Yeah.
you pay them well, you
Hmm.
train them well, you upskill them, you show them a path forward and
Yeah.
upward mobility, you're likely to have people stick around.
Mm.
Um, if you treat them like a number, if you treat your customers like a number, no one wants that. You know, no one wants to be ruled by metrics or time or anything like that. And so I think the best thing we can do is make sure we're hiring the right people and then treat them like humans. Treat them like this is their career and this is somewhere you want them to be. Um,
Yes.
if you treat them like you can replace them tomorrow, they know that and they will leave. So
Yes.
I think that's probably the biggest thing.
I love it. I love it. Well, we've got to the part of our episode what I call the speed round. Are you ready for this?
Oh yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. So, first question, what fact about Alexa would people be surprised to learn about you?
I bake cakes on the side
Really?
for fun.
Really?
Yeah, and they're pretty fancy if I
Nice.
do say so myself.
Oh my gosh. Now, do you ship or are they just all for local delivery?
Local, it's something that I have considered starting as another business on the side because I get asked about it a lot in from family and friends. It started as a tradition for my niece and nephew, and we just haven't stopped. And then people start asking, "Who made the cake?" Well, we did. So,
I
so we'll
love
see.
it. I love it. Um, yeah, I love a good cake. I'll put it that way.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, so
Costco though. Costco
excellent.
has the best cake, I tell you.
Oh yes, 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 definitely. So some days get really stressful for people. What's your go-to tactic for unwinding after a stressful day?
Cocktails,
Cocktails.
cooking.
Excellent.
Cooking
Yes.
with the cocktail preferably is the best. And right now, since
Excellent.
it's summer, grilling outside. Anything outside actually would be great.
Nice, nice. It's Wednesday, so it was it Margarita Wednesday?
It's margarita every day, right?
Hey, there you go. There you go.
Margarita Monday,
Ex-
margarita Tuesday.
I love it. I love it. Um, so if someone wants to, last question, if someone wants to network with you or learn a little bit more about some of the assessments that your company offers, or how they can incorporate assessments into either their pre-hire process or even with their existing staff,
Mm-hmm.
um, how could they best go ahead and contact you?
LinkedIn. I love networking. It doesn't have to be about assessments. It doesn't have to be about anything. Just give me a connection request. Likely I will
Yes.
connect and I will probably expect you to meet with me, to talk with me, because what is the platform worth if we're not actually connecting?
I absolutely love that. And you and I have only been connected for a short period of time. We got an opportunity to meet at a conference, um,
Yes.
you know, just recently, and
Uh-huh.
you're going to be coming down to do another conference down here in Austin, or maybe I can convince you to do a second one on day two. Um,
Yes, I'm
and
there.
yeah, and I love that. I love that sentiment. Networking is so critical, and if you're on LinkedIn, if someone's watching this, you're shy about networking, let me know, and I'll do a virtual intro with Alexa, with you. I have no problem with that. And I love that. And Alexa, you have been an amazing guest today. I appreciate this, your time, the generosity of your time today. As a business owner, I know you always got a lot of balls up in the air, and I appreciate the time, and we'll go ahead and make sure we tag you in this video
Awesome.
when we post it. And Alexa, thank you once again for being an amazing guest on this episode of Coffee Talk with Brohawk.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
we'll talk to you soon.